Alrighty, and welcome back to the Mother-Daughter Disney podcast. My name's Amanda. I'm here with my lovely mother.
Hi, I'm Janette.
And we just came fresh from the movie theaters. We just saw Hoppers in theaters literally about an hour ago. Right. So we drove home and we are going to film this podcast episode right now. So let's start off with some quick background. There honestly wasn't a lot that I could find online about Hoppers. I mean, like there wasn't a lot of marketing around Hoppers either, for being honest.
You hardly ever even saw it.
But Hoppers is a 2026 American animated science fiction comedy film produced by Pixar Animation Studios and Walt Disney Pictures. It is directed by Daniel Chong and written by Jesse Andrews. In an interview with D23, Chong had said that one of his inspirations for the film were the nature documentaries in which robot animals are placed in the animal world. Chong initially pitched the film with penguin protagonists. However, Chief Creative Officer Pete Docter disapproved, arguing that penguins had been protagonists in several other animated films. So Chong changed the protagonists to beavers after doing research on how they affect the environment. Thus far, the movie has received extremely high critic reviews as well as a positive public response as well. And as we are still currently in the movie opening weekend, we do not know how well the movie will do box office wise, so I suppose we'll see. All right, so for the voice cast, there's a really large voice cast for this movie. Our main characters is Piper Curda, Piper Curda voices for Mabel Tanaka, Bobby Moynihan is the voice of King George, Kathy Najimy is the voice of Dr. Sam Fairfax, and Dave Franco is the voice of King Titus. And then some of the other voice actors include Eduardo Franco, Aparna Nancherla, Tom Law, Sam Richardson, Isaiah Whitlock Jr., Steve Purcell, Ego Nwadum, Nicole Sakura, and Meryl Streep as well. So, all right, so before we get into the full plot of the movie, we'll just give our top of the show. Would you recommend going to see Hoppers?
Oh, yeah, it was very entertaining.
I would agree. I thought Hoppers was really great.
Very entertaining.
I'll say I've actually been looking forward to this movie for a really long time. I remember when I saw like one of the first teaser trailers, I thought it looked really good. I loved the idea of placing the consciousness inside of a little animal and then you can speak with the animals. I thought that was really fun. So I was like, if that technology existed in real life, I would 110% be doing that myself. You know, for sure, I would be a cat in an instant hanging out with my cats right now. So from right the get-go, I kind of knew I was probably going to like the movie. Also, I feel like Pixar always does really well at creating little animal critters and animal, storylines. So I figured I would like it, but I agree. I thought it was a great movie. Would definitely recommend as well. I think it's definitely worth seeing.
It was very entertaining, very fast moving. It's got touching parts. It's got very intense parts, I have to say.
It's definitely an action movie.
Yes, it's definitely an action movie. It's definitely got its sad parts. It's got all kinds of different things going on. They took something from everything. But I have to say it went really quick. Yeah. Really, really quick. And it was really entertaining. Laughing, I mean, I was laughing out loud at some of the parts. The other parts you're going, So I got to say, it was good.
And I'll say when we went, we were in a packed movie theater. Yes. We went on a 12 p.m. Saturday movie, packed movie theater. A lot of adults actually.
There were adults,
movies.
Not just
more
all kids.
Adults than children.
I thought it was just going to be us three adults and a whole bunch of kids.
Yeah, no, because for instance, when I saw Zootopia 2, it was all kids and maybe just like the parents. But this one was like the opposite. It was like all adults basically. Yes. But yeah, I thought it was great. So all right, now we're going to get into the plot. So we're going to go through basically the whole plot and kind of just review the plot, what we thought, memorable moments and scenes from the plot as well. I will say too, I made my notes for this podcast before I saw the movie. So it's funny because now that I've seen the movie, some of the plot points make more sense, right? Because sometimes when I was writing these notes, I was like, how is that going to happen? But I was like, all right. So we are in the city of Beaverton. So they just call it straight off the bat, Beaverton. And we start off the movie with our main character, Mabel Tanaka. She is a young child. She's trying to, she's very connected with her grandmother. And she's really, she loves animals, right? The first scene is her trying to break out the classroom animals, to get them out. She's getting in trouble in school. And her grandma's kind of like that figure that's the only one who understands that her love for nature, her love for animals. And her grandmother lives right next to this glade that's right by their city. And they both kind of connect over, this beautiful glade that's like right there with all the animals and all the nature in the world. Right. So then we have a big time jump. So years later, we quickly see Mabel's grandmother has passed away. And the mayor of Beavertown, which is this character named Jerry Genzarazzo, he announces a plan to replace the glade with a freeway, like this circular freeway that's going around the entire city.
Save them 4 minutes.
Yeah, save everyone 4 minutes in commuter traffic. It's funny because this highway actually sort of looks like the road that's technically surrounding Atlanta, Georgia. If you think about it, there's that circular type of highway that goes all the way around Atlanta, Georgia.
Goes right around it.
So it kind of reminded me of that when you saw the plans for it. But they have the last little section that would basically destroy this glade in order to put in this highway. So of course, an older Mabel, she's actively campaigning against him. There's a lot of funny scenes here because it's it's like the day of, right? They're going to blow up the beaver dam and everything. And she's there and they start fighting and they cut to all these little scenes of her and Jerry like fighting throughout
fighting
the entire
everywhere,
thing.
right?
Yeah.
Over
Always
everything.
fighting, over everything, right? So she has a long-standing,
I have to say,
fight with this mayor.
John Hamm, anybody who knows John Hamm, when you saw the mayor, you're like, oh my God, that was perfect casting.
Yeah. So now she is in college now. She says she does say at some point that she's 19 years old. So she's in college and she's very obviously neglecting all of her college studies in order, again, to save the Glade, right? She's very hyper-focused on saving the Glade very specifically. And she's trying to get her biology professor, Dr. Samantha or Sam Fairfax, on her side to say, you love the animals as well. Why aren't you trying to help me more with the animals? But Dr. Sam is being a little bit more reasonable, saying it's like, it's a bigger picture, right? It's like rather than saving one small part of the wildlife, it's a bigger picture often to actually save nature in itself. So it's very interesting that tug and pull to a certain extent, whereas again, Mabel's very passionate, but she's so hyper-focused on
that
one
nobody
specific.
really cares like she does.
All right. So Dr. Sam had told her, she was like, well, you need the keystone species, right? And if you have animals in the area, then you will be able, then you can basically have a better fight to tell them they can't destroy the Glade if if there's animals that are living in the Glade. And when she was there earlier that day, there were no animals and she was kind of confused at where all the animals went. So she tries to bring some food and she's trying to, tempt a beaver to come back, right? The keystone species. She's like, I'm trying to tempt a beaver to come back to the Glade so that she can argue that there are animals and that the Glade needs to be saved. And when she's doing that, one beaver shows up, kind of walks around, and she's like, wow, look, there's a beaver. But then the beaver gets swept up by a van and starts driving away. And Mabel's like, what is going on? So she chases that. At first, she thinks the van is kidnapping the beaver, obviously. So she chases it all the way back to the university. And long story short, this is where we learn of the Hoppers program that Dr. Sam, her professor, is actually the leader of.
Program, but a program.
So the idea behind the Hoppers program is a device that allows human consciousness to hop into a robotic animal and experience life up close as that species. So you can talk to the other species and the other animals as well. And there's a little earpiece that the humans can wear. So when you're in the animal robot, so to speak, the humans can see and hear what you're hearing as well too.
Right, and they can converse with you.
Yeah, so very, very high technology that we have here.
Very far-fetched project. But...
So immediately Mabel's like, well, I'm going in that beaver and I'm saving the Glade, right? So very, very impulsive, right? It's like, again, she's a very one-track minded type of
one track. Doesn't want to listen to anything.
Yeah, she's like, I'm saving the Glade. I'm hopping in there. And it's funny because when she was a kid, when she was like, avoiding all the adults, they're like, oh my God, how is she so agile? And that's like a theme throughout the whole thing, that Mabel's a very agile person. It's the same thing. Yes. She's like running away from them and trying to get to the beaver. And then she gets into the beaver's consciousness and she's kind of dodging them as the beaver as well too. It's kind of funny because they do point out, it's like, well, why can't they just take her? Because her human body is just sitting in the lab, so to speak. So like, why can't they just take her out? And basically the headpiece that's on you to transfer your consciousness like locks into place, I suppose.
They can't open it.
Yeah, so it's locked into her so she can't move. And they said too, it's like she's in for, she's going to be in the body for a long time. So kind of like, is she going to be okay?
Yeah, one of the scientists says, you sure her brain's going to be okay?
Yeah, like how is that going to work? Because they said too, this isn't like, this is a prototype. It's not like this is
it's an experimental lab. Yeah.
Sorry, so she goes into this robotic beaver. Immediately an owl snatches it up to eat her. And then she kind of fights the owl and she drops into the wildlife. I feel like we just needed that so she got out of the city quicker. Right, so it's like they needed to find
her way out of the city.
Yeah, they needed a reason to get her back to the wildlife a little quicker was all. So all right, so when she awakens, she can see that she realizes the professors can observe her remotely, again through the program and everything. So she's able to kind of turn that off though, which is kind of funny.
She finds the button.
Yeah, because obviously they're trying to tell you need to come back. Like this is very dangerous. Like we're using this program to learn about species, but we're not actually. We don't want to interfere with the ecosystem.
Right, they're trying to warn her that you cannot interfere with nature.
Yeah, you're going to interfere with the ecosystem. You're going to interfere with nature, and that's not a good thing.
It's not just one thing. It's a whole system.
So, all right. So when she gets, she's there and she starts realizing she can talk to all animals. It's very exciting. She's trying to find someone to say, like, can you point me out to a beaver? She inadvertently agitates all the animals who all think she's a real beaver, of course, because she saves the life of another beaver who's about to be eaten by a bear. And so because she saves the life, they're like, no, this is against pond rules. And so she's like, I have no idea what that is, obviously. Right. Why would she know what pond rules are, right? Pond rules. It's like, why would anyone else know? But again, she's quite impatient. She's not, it's like she doesn't really care to listen to what they're saying. And she's hyper-focused on being like, I need to find a beaver to save the Glade, right? So anyway, so they take her back to the King George is what we end up knowing what his name is. And he's the king beaver, basically, of the pond. So they go after him. And he kind of, the head beaver of the communal super lodge is what they call it, this big pond area with this big dam that all the beavers had built. And he kind of explains to her what the pond rules are. He's like, first of all, is that you need to know who everyone is. It's important to know your friends and neighbors. hoppers. And the second rule is that when you got to eat, you eat, you know?
Right.
And that's
People
kind
have
of
to
what
eat.
the bear and the beaver said too. The beaver's like, well, I should have been eating because it was my own fault. Like I wasn't paying attention. So it's like, then the bear won. It's like, that's kind of how nature works.
Right.
So I kind of liked how they had to address that, because that is something in Zootopia we have not addressed. How
the animals have to
we
eat.
do not know how the animals in Zootopia
Right.
eat. It has not been addressed yet. Perhaps one day it will
Okay,
be.
maybe.
But in Hoppers, I appreciate that they address the fact.
Right.
It's like, yeah, when you got to eat, you
Right.
eat. So
and they're all together because all their homes have been taken.
yeah, so that's what King George
Right.
was saying, which is funny that they call him King George, because it's like there's been a lot of famous King Georges throughout history in England, right? So but anyway, that's what he says too. A lot of the animals are there as not refugees necessarily, but yeah, because their homes have been taken
They
by
have homes.
humans.
They miss their homes, but they have to be somewhere. So
But King George also recognized too, is like, we're all allowed to be here. We're all allowed to take space. We all have to work
We're
together.
all in this together.
And King George sees the humans as part of his own ecosystem. And we kind of learn later on that he's the king of the mammals. And because humans are mammals, they're actually a part of his kingdom to a certain
kingdom,
extent.
right.
So he kind of says, like, no, we have to live with the humans. Where Mabel is like, no, the humans are destroying your habitat. How could you want this? But he's like, no, that's not how I see it. That's not how any of us should see it.
Right.
That there's always good in everyone, and everyone always wants to do good. You just have to actually believe in it. And so again, he's much more optimistic, where of course Mabel is a little bit more pessimistic.
Right.
So we go through meeting the whole super lodge, all the animals. Again, so many funny little things, the little animals that you meet and that you see. They're very quick to see that like she's confused about something, and this little worm character comes out of the dirt and starts explaining it to her. And then immediately a bird just swoops down and eats the
And eats them.
worm
I know.
right in
Everybody
front of
jumped
her.
on that one.
She's like, oh my goodness. But again, pond rules, right?
yes,
So
pond
it's like-
rules. Got to eat.
So anyway, so she says like, well, all I really want to do is save the glade, this specific area. And King George is like, well, the reason why we all left there is because of the sound that's going on there, right? Like there's this really loud, horrible ringing noise, and all the animals are mimicking the ringing noise in this like, funny
Trying to
little
tell
scene.
what it sounds like, right?
So they all, trek back over to the glade. And when they get close, all the animals are freaking out because they're like, oh, this horrible sound. And she, as a human, even though she's in the robotic animal body, she can't hear it. She's like, what sound are you talking about? And she basically realizes that there's an artificial tree that has all these speakers on it that's producing a sound that only animals can hear.
So
and she
scares them
knows
away.
that Jerry, the mayor, he had implanted that purposely so that he could say, oh, there's no wildlife living here, so I can
build
destroy
my
it and build
highway.
my
It's
highway.
illegal.
Yep. So she's saying he can't do that. So she immediately is like, I'm going to take down this tree, this artificial tree, which she is right to a certain extent. You can't do that.
Can't
right?
do that.
So in the Hoppers program, back to Dr. Sam, there were two other animals that they had in the Hoppers program. So they had a bunny and they had a bird. And I will say, if I had to pick my animal, I feel like I'd be picking the bird, right?
Because
the
he gets
bird,
around.
Yeah, the
Yes.
bird can fly. I was
know.
like, goodness
He was getting
gracious, I would
around.
love to fly. That's crazy beans, right? So the bird hopper, he comes over and he's trying to pick her up to be like, come on, we got to get you back to the lab. Like, you can't be doing this. And again, hyper focused. She's like, no, I'm taking down this tree. Look what Jerry's done. This is horrible. And he's like, I understand, but it's like, you can't be doing this. This is bad. So anyway, they end up kind of fighting. And because of their fighting, she has enough momentum to knock the entire tree down. And she's fine from it. Just don't know how that happened, right? Little
There's
beaver.
a lot of people walking out of stuff in this movie.
So when she destroys the artificial tree, now all the sound is gone. So the animals are like, oh my gosh, rejoice, right? It's like now we can all come back to where we lived. So we have this cute little scene where all the beavers, they remake the dam, they build everything up, all the other animals come back. It's really cute because some of the birds come back. They're like, oh, like it's as if we never left, right? It's like a lot of our homes are still here, so nothing's ever touched it. So, a happy little moment there. And Mabel's having a grand old time, right? Being a beaver. Like she's like, this is amazing, right? Like I finally feel like I belong somewhere for a short period of time. So again, as she's learning a little bit more of the community's customs and she's growing closer to the beaver community, King George, she kind of tells her his little backstory, revealing that when he was a child, his father actually cast him out when he was very young. And he ended up coming back though afterwards. Because he kind of says there was the Twig Wars, all this stuff, a lot of history with the beavers, right?
Yes.
All this stuff happened. But long story short, he ended up coming back to be the king. And Mabel doesn't understand why he would ever come back if they treated him so poorly. And he's like, well, this is for the community, for the neighborhood, right? It's like there's certain reasons why things happen. So again, it kind of just showing the compassion that a character can have, even
He's
if
got a very nice outlook on life.
even if the world is really beating it down, it's like you can still have a lot of compassion and love for the world and still be this optimist character. So Mabel is about to reveal her identity as a human, right? Because he still thinks she's a real beaver. Although no one's questioned where she came from, but she's just a real beaver, right?
Beaver.
First asked Mabel to be his personal advisor, to be his paw, as they call it. And so Mabel is a little bit reluctant at first to do this. But then Jerry, again, the mayor, he realizes that his artificial tree has been taken down. So he's like, nope, we got to get more trees, right? So they are installing even more trees around this area to get rid of all the animals. And so in her anger, a feeling of like, how could Jerry do this? Like, he can't be destroying this glade and everything. She agrees to be George's paw, but she also says too, he had mentioned a council earlier. So she's like, call up the council. And George is really reluctant to do that, but she kind of pushes him to be like, as your personal advisor type of thing, like you should call the council. And we need to work together, right, to save the glade. So anyway, so they go back to the super lodge and the whole animal council convenes. humans. And this is all the various species. So it's like, so we have the mammal king, who's the beaver, which is, this is when we find out that he's the mammal king specifically. Then we also have insect, amphibian, fish, reptile, and bird monarchs as well. They all have these little crowns on their head, which that's in the trailer of the movie actually, where the character's like, where'd you get that little crown?
Oh, yeah. One of the guys at the lab said, and that's, when he asks about the crown, the other scientist says, that's your question?
Yeah. But I would say it's like, it is an interesting question. Like, where these little gold crowns come from?
They do show you where the crowns come from at the end.
I was going to say, yeah, they all have these little crowns. So I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's so cute though. I would say this was one of my favorite scenes actually, because I thought it was so cool how each of like the courts were presented, you know?
Oh God, yeah, they all had their little entourage that came with them.
Yeah, like the birds came down in this really dramatic V formation. It's
the
like
animators
all the
were
frogs
having a
came
ball.
down.
Yes.
Again, the insects, these huge flourish of like butterflies came down. It was quite impressive. Even like the reptiles, the snakes, right? So they come slithering along. So yeah, so we have all the monarchs now, and they go inside of like the lodge, which is just like the
head people going to the lodge, right?
And there's like tiers of it. So there's people above them as well, all chit-chatting. So at first, you know, George is speaking to the council being like, this is really bad, the humans are taking over, but they're all like, well, they're your species, so like why should we even care about it? You know, they're like, he's like, that sounds like a you problem, since the mammals are under your domain. So it's like, why should we even bother getting our hands dirty? So then they're like, well, meeting over, right?
Yeah, everyone wants to go home.
So anyway, so then Mabel, she comes through and she gives a speech being like, no, this is everyone's problem, this is everyone's home, and she kind of like impassions them. Again, it's like through her anger though is where the speech is really coming from, even though she is right to a certain extent that the humans are taking over all of their
everybody's
habitats.
problem, not just his.
Yeah, so, however, she inadvertently is a little too passionate, and she basically riles them up a little bit too much for her, like, we must squish the humans. Squish Jerry. And she's like, well, what do we mean by squish Jerry, right? It's like, that's not what I meant. But now everyone's, like, all worked up. They're like, no, we are going to squish Jerry because he is taking our land, and he shouldn't be doing this, and how dare he? And, like, because, I think she references Jerry as, like, the king of the humans, because she doesn't know how to explain who he is.
Right.
So they're like, no, he's taking over this council and everything. So specifically the butterfly monarch, she's the one that's really saying, he's like, we're going to squish all of them the way they squish us.
She was kind of the ringleader of the council. Yes.
Yeah, so she's the one that, you know, so she's saying, it's like, we're going to squish them. And so then her and Mabel kind of get into like a little fight, just the two of them, because Mabel's like, that's not what I meant. Like, I don't think we should do this. And she's like, well, you're the one who started this. Like, now we're cleaning up all your messes. Right. And while they're kind of like, you know, she's kind of flying around in her face. And so Mabel's just trying to push her away, but she by accident just like claps her hands on her and just kills her. It's like,
yes, not spoiler alert.
Yeah, the on-screen murder of a monarch.
Like, squishing.
Now the entire theater were like all like gasped.
Yes, we all gasped.
Started laughing at the same time. So it's just like, what just happened in a Disney Pixar film, right? So I mean, like of your character on screen too was also like, what just happened, right? And
everybody was in shock.
Also, the Queen Monarch's son was a little caterpillar. He was there too, being like, "Mom."
Yeah, he was like a big obnoxious thing too. Always like, you know.
Like, then literally Mabel, she kind of presses like against the wall because she realizes everyone's staring at her, and she just like wipes the insect guts off the walls before they start running. So now the whole council have turned on her and King George as well too, right? Because now she's in an even bigger pickle than she was before. So, and meanwhile too, Dr. Sam, they had the bunny hopper and the bird hopper as well in the room. So they're trying to get to Mabel to try to rescue her, but they can't. The bunny hopper gets destroyed almost immediately, and when it gets destroyed, like the robotic animal, they just wake up, right? They're fine. Like they don't. Yeah. It's not like
they end up in their own bodies.
Yeah.
Right.
So same thing with the bird.
You kill off any humans.
Yeah. Same thing with the bird too. They get out, and the bird, he picks up Mabel, and she's like, "No, we have to go back to save George." And he's like, "No, it's like this is really dangerous." So anyway, she ends up kind of getting him to go back, and they kind of get George, but then again, the bird, he ends up getting destroyed too, right? His robotic animal blows up, and so then he wakes up. So now the only hopper body they have left is the beaver that Mabel is currently in. So anyway, so then they have to. So her and George have to flee the super lodge, and you know they have a touching moment at that point because she realizes that she has undermined his authority, right? Like she kind of started all of this, and George says too. She's like, you know, it's like you came in and I was trusting you. We did all this stuff, and it's like now I had to flee my home and I have to go back and like beg further forgiveness and all this stuff. And she says too, that's kind of where she breaks down, being like, I feel like I just feel, you know, kind of lost. Like I'm the only one who cares about this. And it's like, how come no one ever cares? Like no one cares, and I'm the only one fighting for this one thing. So he turns to her. He's like, no, like if you care about it, I care about it. And she kind of says like too, like why would you trust me again, right? And he again, that compassionate character to be like, well, he tells her like trust is like a dam. It's like sometimes there's cracks in it, but then you just have to patch them up, right? So he kind of comes back to her and they're like, all right, he says, we're going to save the glade. He's like, and we're going to save Jerry because now all the other animals want to murder Jerry, right? We got an assassination attempt. This is an assassination plot in a Pixar film, everyone. So then now the council is now being led by the vengeful insect King Titus. So again, the little caterpillar guy, he starts going on this whole little tirade, and then he goes into this little cocoon, and he's like, he's going to come into a butterfly. So in the meanwhile, though, all the other animals are kind of getting together. So then Mabel, George, and then the other animals that were always on their side, like the bear animal that we saw before, Ellen, the other beaver, there's this little gecko type character as well too. They're trying to get to Jerry because they're like, we got to get to Jerry first.
Banding together.
Yep. So they get to Jerry. We have this little funny scene of Jerry, and he's like so excited to like just because they're like, Jerry must be so scared. Meanwhile, Jerry's like, can't wait to destroy the glade, right? He's like making his mom pancakes, like all this stuff. Like I say, those fake pancakes look great.
I know they did. He's making pancakes. I could go for pancakes. He's ready to go have his big rally.
So he gets in his car, and they're just in his car. How they got in his car, no one knows. But they're in his car. They use the face unlock to unlock his car, and because Mabel's obviously human, she knows how phones work. So she just uses like text to speech, so that way she says to him like, your life is in danger. We need to get to the glade now. So she's like texting on his phone. But let me tell you, this scene, the way they filmed it is supposed to be entertaining. It's quite funny. It's hard to explain through words. It's very visual, a lot of visual gags, I would say. Very funny though, but they're saying your life is in danger. We got to get to the glade. So, all right. So Jerry kind of realizes like, all right, they're definitely, they're not lying, right? So he kind of goes
because he starts to see all the birds coming.
Yeah, all these birds are kind of coming after him. So they start driving over to the glade. And so this is where in my notes, it's so funny. I have the council, now led by the vengeful insect King Titus, who has succeeded his mother, orchestrates an assassination attempt on Jerry by dropping a shark onto his car. Now, when I wrote that in my notes, I was like,
there's
wow.
a lot that happens before that happens.
I was like, how is that going to happen? Yeah, I know. I was like, do they mean a real shark?
A lot happens before that happens.
So anyway, they're driving anyway to the glade. Dr. Sam and everyone, they're trying to get to, they know she's in the beaver costume with Jerry. They're trying to get to her too. They're trying to convince Jerry that they're the good guys, trying to save his life and everything. And then suddenly you see all the birds are convening again, and then they go to the ocean. And at first you're like, well,
because he says go get the apex predator.
Oh yeah, King Titus says like we need an apex predator.
Right? So you're trying to say to yourself, okay, who's the apex predator they're going to bring in?
Yeah, I thought it was going to be like a mountain lion or like a jaguar.
That's what I thought, like a lion or a jaguar
on like what we had
or
seen.
Something. Yeah.
So when the birds start to descend into the water and they physically lift up a shark out of the ocean and bring the shark into the air, you're like, we're truly in a Pixar film now.
Yes. It's like watching Nemo.
You can only get this in an animated film. It's like that and like maybe Sharknado, right?
Yes.
It's like not the Sharknado of it
I'm telling you, a lot of it was kind of over the top, but it was just so entertaining.
And it's funny because King George is like, oh, that's Denise. Denise is actually really great.
Actually very nice.
And Denise is like, hey guys, how you doing? Right? I'm the apex predator.
Well, it was funny because she even told what's her name, Mabel, to excuse me, honey, move back a little bit because she wants to put the wanted poster up next to his face.
To make sure they got the right guy. So again, Mabel and her friends, they barely help Sam. They barely help Jerry escape. So they basically, and the way they do escape is that they basically have the car crash. So
crashes. They walk away from a crash.
A very, very wild car accident, if we're being very honest.
Yes.
The fact that Jerry was fine from that car
Everybody
accident.
was fine, got out of that accident.
Everyone was small animals to a certain extent. Because at this point, a lot of the animals had fallen out of the car. So the bear was actually
flying out of the
them.
car as he was going down the highway.
So a lot of the animals were with the bear. So the bear didn't actually fall through. Like he probably just climbed down the mountain or something like that. But Jerry and Mabel as the beaver, they were in the car. So the fact that Jerry was okay, Jerry's having quite the day, right?
Yes.
His day is going to get worse. The day is not over for Jerry.
It's not over for Jerry yet.
But anyway, so at this point though, Dr. Sam and the other, Hopper scientists, they have caught up to them. They are able to get to Mabel, and they basically have to put the beaver onto, I don't know, I guess like the little platform so that they can, disconnect them. So when that happens, Mabel goes back into her regular body. She's very disoriented, obviously, because she just spent like more than 24 hours in this beaver body. Like she sees King George again, he's trying to get to her beaver body, but he doesn't understand that Mabel isn't in there anymore. Like he's confused.
He thinks that's Mabel, right?
Now the thing is, earlier in the scene remember when I said that the bunny hopper animal got destroyed, the animals found the body of that and they found the robotic parts of the bunny and they realized that there was something fishy going on. They were like, why is this bunny like made out of robot parts? And so when the King George is pulling Mabel's beaver body away, he sees some of the robotic parts and he realizes like, oh, like this isn't a real beaver. So he kind of leaves, but we don't know what he's saying because
it was so sad because he was like whimpering and you could tell
he's like in his little
very
beaver
upset
body
when he thought it was her and it's another sad part of the movie. Like I said, your emotions were going up and down and up and down and up and down.
So
trying
now,
to keep track of the plot.
I know, right? So, but we have no time to unpack that because now the council and all the other animals, they descend on Mabel, Sam, or Dr. Sam, Jerry, all of them. You know, Mabel, she gets knocked unconscious. When she wakes back up, they're at the lab again in the university, and she's all tied up with all these wires. And she's like, "What's going on?" And she looks over. Jerry's just in like his undershirt, and he's just like, "Don't say anything." He's like, "Don't speak."
Yeah.
You can see all the animals through a curtain, and they're doing something, but you don't know what. Then Dr. Sam and her assistant come through, and they're like really strained, and they're taking these measurements of Jerry, and there's like a snake on her back, you know, kind of forcing her to do stuff. And they're kind of looking at Mabel like, "Don't talk, like don't say anything." And so obviously Mabel's just very confused. So long story short, how they did this in a time frame of like an hour is beyond anyone here, right? But Dr. Sam and her assistant basically built another robot that looks just like Jerry.
Right.
And
they reversed the system.
Yeah, and they put King Titus's the little butterfly, his consciousness into Jerry's robot body, right?
Right.
So again, they reverse engineered it, putting the animal into a human robot body, and again, now he can talk to them. And so, again, why they already had the makings of a human robot body is beyond anyone. You know, sometimes you just gotta close your eyes and squint real hard and just allow to happen what's happening on screen.
This is what animation is.
So King Titus plans to impersonate Jerry and use the audio frequency trees that he set up to basically max them out, because he realized if you have a bunch of trees in a circle and you max them out, it would actually kill the humans, right?
Squish all the humans.
Squish all the humans. So he's beyond just squishing Jerry. Now he wants to squish all these humans,
all
right?
the people that are there for his rally.
And he says too, it's like the humans, only things humans ever do is squish us. Because remember, he's an insect, so he's like, the humans only ever squish insects. Like, I want to squish the humans. So he gets back to the rally. Then when he's getting there, he's kind of giving this like weird, crazy speech, and even the audience is just like, Jerry's being weird.
Yeah, you know? One of the more guys says, "I don't think that's the mayor."
Yeah, there's like something's wrong with him, right? Like all the humans can tell immediately. It's like something's weird about him, but like no one knows obviously what's going on. All right, so as they're here, realizing again, Mabel and Jerry, they're still tied up in the lab, right? Because the animals, the council, they all took the doctors with them, or the scientists with them. And so at first Jerry's blaming her for everything, but Mabel kind of realizes that all of her anger and everything has really clouded her judgment in the bigger picture, right? And she realizes that, you know, that in order to save everyone, Jerry's actually in the seat where he could hop back into the beaver body, because for some reason they just left the beaver body on the plate. I guess they're animals after all, right? So Jerry goes into the robotic beaver body. He's able to free Mabel. I guess he frees himself too, but he stays in the beaver body though. And she says that, and she has the earpiece now, right? So she can talk to him and talk to the other animals because she's got the special little earpiece. And so they all make it back to the rally. I'm not sure how far the rally is from this university, but I guess there's no traffic. They make it back there. Mabel is trying to reason with Titus. And it's funny because he's on the stage, right, giving this crazy impassioned speech. She's in the audience, you know, climbing up the stage, talking to him. And she's like, "I'm sorry I killed your mom." And the whole audience is like, "What?"
Whoa, that was even on TV. People were listening. All the other animals have headphones on and they're in a room watching the TV.
But then it cuts to Jerry's mother, who's still alive, like watching this rally on TV, being like, "Huh?
Like, what are they talking about?"
On? Right. So like, she's having this whole speech trying to convince Titus, like, we need to work together. This is like, she's like, "I've realized like I was wrong," type of thing. Like it's all about working together, seeing the bigger picture, like taking care of each other type of thing. Obviously in King Titus, he's like, "No, like I'm going to take over the human world and I'm going to take over every council." And the other council members are like, "What did he just say?" Like he's going to take over like our lands and our people, right? So anyway though, so Mabel and Titus have this big fight.
It's just that typical, you give somebody too much power and you know.
Yeah, this little spoiled caterpillar, right? So they have this big huge fight, and he has it on the phone, where again the phone, you know, will unlock with the Face ID. But how the phone ends up on a high tower of the tree, right? Not sure. I can't remember how that happens. But anyway, they lose the phone. They're both going after the phone now. And then when they're climbing the tree to get to the phone, the rubber face of like the robot of Jerry, gets ripped off, and then he looks real scary, right? And everyone's just like, "Oh my god!" And that's when the humans are like, "Maybe that's not the mayor." I'm like, really? That was the hint that he was not the mayor? He also crawled really creepily to the tree as well too. So anyway, so when he gets the phone at this point, because again they were in this big huge fight, so a small fire has already started. When he gets to the phone, he can't get the phone to unlock to do the sound thing around the humans to squish all of them, because he lost the rubber face, so he no longer has the face recognition. Anyway, the tree falls. Now a huge fire is breaking out, a massive wildfire. Everything's catching on fire. How these metal poles caught on fire so quickly, I do not know, but everything is catching on fire now.
The whole forest around them.
Yeah, the whole forest is catching on fire, and now this massive wildfire is just consumes the whole glade, is starting and consuming the whole wild, forest around them. And it's making its way quickly down to the actual village, or not village, of the city of where the people are. So all the firefighters are coming. It's like everyone's running for their lives, basically. Even now, real Jerry, again, because the beaver body got destroyed. So real Jerry's back in his regular body in his undergarments, trying to direct people, trying to get everyone to safety. The firefighters are fighting. And meanwhile, though, Mabel, in her human body, she's with George and the bear, and she's trying to get the King George to safety as well, too, because at first she's trying to save the Glade, because again, she's always so hyper-focused on the Glade. The bear comes and he picks them all up and he takes them to safety back at the Super Lodge, right? So now we're back at the Super Lodge and they're all together, and Mabel's in her human body, but they realize that if they destroy the dam of the Super Lodge, the water will rush down the mountain, and it should help put out the fire for the wildfire. So, all the mammals, they start taking it apart, but they can't really work fast enough is the thing. And they actually say it's like, we built the dam too well, right? It's like the beavers are too good at their jobs.
Good job.
But then suddenly
we need help.
Yeah, and then suddenly all the other animals, so the birds come, the amphibians come, the fish come, everyone else comes, and they start helping to destroy this dam. And then the last one who comes is the shark, right?
Shark
so
comes and helps.
The birds picked back up Denise, and they had Denise come as the shark. They dropped her, and she bit through the rest of the twigs, and was the final one to release the water. The water rushes down, of course, then the city is saved. But then when Mabel gets back down to the Glade, it's all burned, right? So everything's burned, everything's charred to a crisp, the whole area. And she kind of realizes that her whole goal was to save this area, and now she's destroyed it even beyond what the highway would have done to it. So she kind of realizes that. And so then Jerry comes back through, and she thinks that Jerry's gonna, he's gonna build the highway again. But she realized that he's brought the crew to actually clean up all of the mess that they made, right? Because the stage was still there, all the metal from the trees was still there. So they start cleaning up all this area, all the metal, and then you see a few beavers kind of come back, and they start
Jerry learned his lesson too.
Yep. So the beavers come back and they start building, a few twigs in the way to say is like the ecosystem will, will get better over time, right?
Yeah, redo itself.
So then we have a little time jump towards the end here, and Mabel, we see it's graduation day. We see that she did graduate from college, and then she runs into Dr. Sam, and Dr. Sam says that the dean has discontinued the Hoppers program, but she says that that's okay because she has other ideas that she wants to work on.
She's got all these ideas on a board.
It's interesting. She flips the board, and the first thing we see is the talking collar that's an up. So if you know an up, the way that Doug...
I didn't notice that. Okay.
So in Up, the way that Doug talks, the talking dog, is with the talking collar. And so that's the connection, again, back to the whole Pixar theory, right? Okay. So it's like she's the one who's going to create that collar. I would have never caught
that. Okay.
So when she did that, I caught that immediately, being like, oh, so that's where she's going next, right? And so Dr. Sam says, it's like we could use another, passionate mind on our team. Right. So it's assumed that Mabel's going to join her
work
team,
with them.
Right? So, and then the last few things that happen is that she says that, because Dr. Sam's too, and like, I'm glad that, I'm sorry you can't talk to George anymore. But then Mabel goes back to the Glade, and King George comes and he sits with her on the same rock that her and her grandmother used to sit on as well. And George takes her phone. He still is like playing with the phone, right? The whole thing is that they love the emoji, so they're like the beaver emoji, they chop the wood emoji, right? Yeah. So they can kind of still communicate a little bit through the phone, right? And then we do have our 2 after credit scenes. I'm actually not going to go through the after credit scenes because they're kind of cute, so we'll save that for when you see the movie. But there are 2 after credit scenes. There's the mid credit scenes, and then there's one very short scene at the very, very end as well too. Just two,
which ties back into the middle of the movie. Technically,
a scene that I didn't mention actually, but a minor scene. So but overall, that was the Hoppers film. I thought it was very good, very funny, very intense at parts. Right. I would say very scary at parts too.
Yeah,
the whole car chase
intense.
And everything.
I mean, especially like I said, they used the word squish, but technically, they're talking about
we had an on-screen,
kill the humans.
We had an on-screen manslaughter.
That's right.
It's like Mabel killed the Queen Monarch by accident,
right?
And then we had an assassination attempt. Is basically the second half of the plot. So it's like oh my goodness, it's like how the plot has escalated.
I gotta tell you, but I do say halfway through the movie, I said, oh my God, John Hamm was the perfect person to play this character.
No, for sure. So overall, I thought this was a great film. I really enjoyed it, really liked it. I would definitely recommend seeing it. I hope they do more of these movies in the future too. If this movie's successful, I'm assuming it will get a sequel one day. I guess we'll see.
I saw something this morning on Instagram or someplace where they rated like the top 11 or 15 like animated movies or something, and this one was in those top 15.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I thought it was very good. And again, it's been getting very high critic reviews and everything. I will say, I feel like Disney has done very little marketing for this movie. They've done almost the bare minimum. I was surprised about that. I would have thought I would have saw more. However, I would say they did very little marketing for Zootopia 2 as well, and now Zootopia 2 is the highest grossing animated film in the entire world. So it's like...
Well, I think like anything else, word of mouth's going to get it. If somebody says, "Do you see Hoppers?" or "What do you think about Hoppers?" or whatever, and people say, well, it was intense and it was funny and it was touching and it was really a good movie.
Yeah, they had some great visual gags, like the classic Disney visual gags that you get from like the classic films. Is like, this is what this film really did as well too, and I think that's really great. And again, I thought it was really fun. The animals are so cute too. It's like, let me tell you, the way they did these beavers, they make like beavers look
especially
like
when, before they get even the human consciousness in them, they have these little eyes and these little teeth, and they was just
they're so cute. And he still has a little crown
just
on.
Looking, with his little crown on.
I know, it's like I kind of want like a little beaver plushie for this movie, right? It kind of makes you want it. So, but all right. So normally we would have a little bit of Disney news. I actually didn't prep any Disney news because I didn't realize this movie was coming out this weekend. I thought this movie was coming out the following weekend, so it would be very last minute or squeezing this episode in.
We were lucky my plans got canceled today.
I know, right? So instead we'll just hop over to our Disney memory instead. You have a Disney memory real quick for this episode.
Oh God, for this movie. I don't have one for this movie. This will be a memory for a while. But I don't really have a memory other than this.
Yeah, well, again, we've seen a lot of the Disney films in theaters for the most part over the years because we've always really liked the Disney movies and the Disney Pixar movies as well too. I do plan on doing an in-depth episode one day on the Pixar theory, so this movie will of course fit into the Pixar theory as it is a Pixar movie. So one day we will do that. I know there are a lot of YouTube videos, like hours-long YouTube videos analyzing that, but I do want to cover that one day too because I think it'll be fun. So
I mean, for a specific memory, I can't think of one that would connect right to this, but I got to tell you, I just thought it was. I mean, my joke is that when it starts, they show the castle and Disney and all that rainbow and this stuff, and it's so relax. That's my memories are always just look at that and go, oh.
Well, all right. Thanks for everyone for listening to this week's episode of the podcast. Make sure you give us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or leave a comment down below if you're watching on YouTube. Make sure you follow us on social media, Almost Amanda X, and let us know if you are going to see Hoppers in theaters, if you wait for it to hit Disney Plus. Let us know, what did you think of Hoppers? Would love to know, because again, I really enjoyed the movie, so we'd love to talk to more people who also enjoyed the movie or maybe didn't enjoy the movie. I will say one of my favorite things when I read a book is to read people who didn't like the book, right? It's always interesting to see different people's opinions.
Why people have certain, well, enjoy the movie.
But all right, thanks everyone, and we'll see you next time. Bye.